Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Banter Waight Boxing YouTube channel, pound for pound, the #1 boxing podcast around. Now, it's been a while since we've been able to record a podcast. That's partly down to me being away and just trying to get us all in the same place at the same time. But we are back and we're talking AJ. But before we get into it, let's do a little introduction. So starting from the youngest, Joe, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get involved.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the pod. Apologies for Joe's bump flop on the chin. Hope you enjoy the pod.
That is minging.
Evening all. Let's crack on.
Hold on.
Do you want to get that camera any closer to your head?
And if we're talking facial hair, Johan's got to get a fucking comment at least.
He's got
beautiful.
If you see what's under the facial hair, you'll know that that's a better look. Hide what you can.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. So we're talking AJ today in the pod, and basically with Usyk going away to fight in Ukraine, there's obviously the rematch is put on hold, and both Eddie and AJ have made it very clear that they don't want to sit around. They want to get back in the ring around that kind of June time when the Usyk fight would have been, just to stay fresh and, you know, keep moving. He can't put his career on hold because of what's going on in the world events right now. So they made it very clear that they want an interim fight. Now, I thought in this video, it'd be good fun to go through some potential fighters that could be AJ's next opponent. There's been little hints here and there from different promoters and in interviews with AJ of who it could be. So I thought we'd go through them, break the fights down, see what would be a good matchup, what we think is going to be likely to be the next matchup, and yeah, just get our overall thoughts. So there's been loads of names that have been thrown into the hat, but the first one I thought we'd go with is going to be Joe Joyce. Now, going over to Jim, I'll kick it off with you. We can talk about Joe Joyce. So this name first got mentioned in an interview to AJ, actually. And yeah, the interviewer I think it was an IFL TV, and he asked AJ, you know, would you be interested in that fight? And AJ's response was quite positive. He seemed quite intrigued by this fight, quite interested in it. Also today, or I think yesterday, Frank Warren has come out and said he'd happily make this fight, really likes this fight. So already making it a bit easier to make the fight, considering Frank Warren would be on board. What else? And also there has been some back and forth between AJ and Joe Joyce recently on Twitter, saying Joyce has said he's game for it, and that even they could do the fight in Nigeria, which would be quite an interesting one. But let's go. Let's start off with Jim. Do you like that fight? Are you interested by that fight?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good fight. I think it's an intriguing fight. I think it's a close fight, but I think Joyce is sort of made for someone like AJ.
Yeah.
He's not he's not as skillful as someone like Usyk, but he's a marvelous athlete, no doubt about it. And you know, Joyce has got a great chin, got good jab, but I just think AJ's power and athleticism will overwhelm Joyce.
Yeah. Would you make the big talking point here is especially when you talk about Joyce, is his chin, which obviously, you know, has a slight counter to AJ's punching power, one of his strongest assets. And also, probably more importantly, Joe Joyce's stamina. So one thing we've seen from him, he can go 12 rounds, but with AJ, he does struggle later in the round. So do you think those two factors could play quite a big role in a fight against AJ? Because I know you're saying he's molded for him, but those two factors could mean that he's actually quite a tricky opponent for AJ.
Yeah, I think what goes against Joyce is his inactivity. You know, I think, you know, he's probably had 3 fights in the last 3 years. And I just think, you know, coming up against an elite heavyweight, you know, I think AJ's in a different league to Dubois. And certainly a lot of the other 4 fighters that he's come up against in his 13 fights. So I really struggle to see anything other than an AJ win.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Mike, I've got a question. I thought you used to say, isn't it like common knowledge that Joyce always got pulled up for AJ sparring sessions? Were they not always sparring together?
Yeah, they sparred together a lot. I think when AJ was especially earlier in his career, I think he called on Joyce quite a lot because of his granite chin. He said he was one of the few fighters that he could get rounds in sparring, because I don't think it must be the fact that he wasn't able to knock him out that often, or maybe later on in sparring. So
but he wouldn't get hit back that much either.
Yeah. He'll keep the pretty face. Yeah.
Mm.
What do you two make of the fight? Do you feel as confident as Jimmy?
I hate to agree with Jimmy because I think he's a dickhead, but I think he's dead right there. Yeah, I wish I could disagree, but yeah,
It's hard to make an argument for Joyce in that fight.
It's very hard. Yeah.
Really?
I would like to.
I disagree. I don't think it's as hard as you might think. I think in terms of fighters out there right now, I agree with you guys. I think AJ would beat him, and I think AJ would probably even knock him out. But I think in terms of fights out there right now, if you're not looking at Fury or Wilder, like, you know, realistic fights, I think it's one of the hardest fights out there for AJ. I think purely because, well, to be fair, it's a difficult one. It's one you'd have to see because the chin and the stamina is gonna be a factor. But I do think AJ could knock him out.
Joyce will have to stand toe to toe to have any chance. He's not going to win that on points. Yeah. And very few people can stand toe to toe with AJ and come out victorious.
Yeah, and I suppose, you know, Joyce is going to have that similar upright style, similar to kind of like a Pulev or whatever, which feeds right into
that's what I was thinking. Pulev was coming to mind. Yeah,
lack of movement, and also as well, I suppose we know he's a very slow puncher, so the counter punches are going to be there for AJ. So yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you all there, to be fair. But let's move on. Let's look at the next fighter I've got on my list is Joseph Parker. Again, in that same interview with where someone mentioned Joe Joyce to AJ, they also mentioned Parker. He didn't seem as keen about the Parker fight, but obviously it would be quite an easy fight to make because Parker's been fighting in the UK quite a lot. Very good relationship with Eddie Hearn. He's fought on a lot of his cards, so it'd be quite easy to make in that sense. I think Parker's probably quite an easy guy to work with in terms of making deals. I don't think he's particularly demanding, like, you know, Chisora or something like that. And also as well, Parker hasn't fought since his Chisora win last December. So he's not got any fights lined up. So this could be coming at a good time for him. So I think this one could be I don't know if it's likely to happen next, but it could be quite an easy one to make. But Joe, going over to you, considering how dominant that first fight was with the AJ, how dominant AJ was in that first fight, would you be interested in seeing that rematch? Or
no? Of all the rematches in British boxing, like Brooke Khan, Taylor, Carroll, like that is bottom of the list, mate. It wasn't even. If Parker just got battered up, I'd like to see the rematch for the fact that I might get to see another battering. But it was just shit, and I just don't want to see it. The build-up was shit. The fight was shit.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit, mate.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for that. No way. And every AJ fight I do. So, or someone does.
It was an incredibly boring fight, wasn't it? Like, it's just Parker just looked like he was almost there to take a paycheck, really. Pretty much, he was happy to hand over the belts to AJ, or the belt to AJ. But
yeah, like when you look at the Waight fight, AJ beat him convincingly, but the fight that Waight put it up, you know, there was there was a real tenacity and there was viciousness in the build-up. There was none of that, and that's what we want to see. If AJ's going to win, which essentially we're pretty much saying is going to happen because he's not fighting one of the tougher guys, you want to see him in a scrap. I'd rather see him with Chisora, who's not going to fucking give up and take the money.
Yeah. He never threw the kitchen sink, did he, Parker? He was like, it was quite clear he was getting outboxed. I don't think I even gave him a round that whole fight. But there was no point where he was like, you know what, I'm going to throw it at AJ. I'm going to give it to him now, stick it on him. You know, if I get knocked out, I get knocked out. It was, incredibly boring. But considering how he performed, though, against Chisora, you know, a lot of people have bigged up that performance. Does that give you any kind of hope that we're seeing a bit of a different style from Parker? You know, he's training with Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
Movement. Is there anything in that? Or do you think Chisora is just a bit washed up now? He's got him at a good time, made him look a lot better than he is.
Chisora's the doorman of Journey. Like, he's the doorman to heavyweight boxing at the minute. Like, you beat him and you can sort of kick it with. If you can't put him away, you ain't got a chance against that.
Gave the unified champion of the world a very difficult fight, though.
Yeah.
Gave Usyk probably one of the hardest fights of his career.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But I think you've got it stylistically. Parker should have put Chisora away in that fight.
Yeah, I agree.
And he didn't have that instinct to do so, and he won't outbox AJ, so he's got to knock him out. And I can't see that happening.
I can't see that happening either.
Yeah.
What about you guys, Jim? How do you see that fight going? The Parker AJ fight if it's made?
Yeah, like watching paint dry. I can't. There's just not the appetite for it. But don't get me wrong. I think Parker's a better fighter now than when he first faced AJ. And it's arguable to say that AJ is probably not the fighter he was when he fought Parker. But I can't see anything other than an AJ win. It's a good fight for Parker to take, a lot of money in it for him. You can see his team wanting to make that happen.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's probably a good fight for AJ because, look, the fight AJ wants now is not a risky fight. He knows this is not his payday. This is just to keep him active, get in some rounds and get someone out. And I think you don't want to go in with someone dangerous. And Parker's never going to knock him out. He might take him the distance, but I think he's got Parker's number. So it's arguably a good fight for both of them, but just not a good fight for the fans.
Yeah. And I think you might be bang on there. And I think that's probably the fight that we're going to get here for an interim is we're all talking about an exciting fight that's going to be made. But I think
AJ can't lose this. He just can't lose this.
He can't lose it. And if anything, it's about more than just not losing it. This needs to be a lift off. This needs to be a massive confidence boost. And I think that's why
I don't see him losing to many people. There's not many. There's not many people.
I'm saying this isn't just about not losing. This is about going in the ring with someone and flatlining them so he gets that bounce to come into the next fight.
The Wilder fight would be the best one.
That would be the I was going to write Wilder down, but I was
that isn't, and like you're saying, that isn't any interim fight. That's a real fight.
Yeah.
Wilder AJ is a real fight that we could all get excited about.
And to be fair, who knows what happens with the heavyweight division now? Because we're talking about interim fights and Usyk being back after that fight. Usyk could be away for a very long time. Do you know what I mean? We just don't know. And it could be that the belts get vacated. They demand get moved around, and then suddenly you've got new matchups coming where AJ can fight Wilder for a vacant belt.
As if boxing couldn't get any more fucked up than to have a situation like this as well thrown into the mix. Yeah.
With 4 world champions, or current and former, I think it is. But yeah, where were we? So yeah, I think we're all kind of unified. Yeah, and did you say your piece of what you thought would happen with Parker AJ?
I'd go to sleep.
Yeah,
I nearly went to sleep when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
The actual fight.
Yeah. I think
I like Parker. I warm to him, but that's his problem. He's really nice, isn't he? He's a nice lad.
Yeah. He's in the wrong sport, isn't he? He's just in the wrong sport because I think, as you say, he's not a dislike fighter. Golf. Yeah.
Imagine saying that to him, though, eh?
Yeah. I know this guy is like...
Oi, Joseph, you should do fucking ping pong, mate.
You're too nice, mate. You're way too nice. Yeah.
Could you sign this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why don't you sign my giant forehead?
All right, let's move on to another one. The other one I've been thinking about is Otto Wallin. So very similar to the kind of Parker situation. Again, another fighter who's fought on a few of Eddie Hearn's cards now. He fought on the most recent one. Didn't wasn't he on the Kell? Was it the Kell Brook undercard? Yeah, he looked terrible.
It wasn't that. Was it the Canberra? No, I think it was.
No, it was Eubank. I think it might have been Eubank.
Yeah, it was so bad. He was on at like 6:30. No one was in the bloody stadium.
Yeah, and he was against a journeyman, and he still looked, didn't look good at all. But I thought he could be another potential fighter, just because he's had that relationship with Eddie Hearn. Again, another person who's going to be looking for a fight. Probably easy to negotiate. And also as well for AJ, there's that element of that fight of, if I can do a better job on Otto Wallin, then we've got a mutual opponent, which builds that fight. It builds that Tyson Fury AJ fight. Like, Otto Wallen gave Tyson Fury one of the hardest nights of his life.
Yeah.
If AJ comes in, cleans him in 4 rounds, suddenly that fight's already massive. But now more people are going,
you just described the future. I mean, that's what's going to happen, right? That's the fight you're going to make, and it's going to have that element of intrigue because of the nasty way he fought Tyson and gave him that kind of, particularly when he grabbed at his eye.
Yeah,
he's got a bit of the beast in him, but I think AJ puts him away easy. But it's just as you're describing. I couldn't describe it any better. I literally think that is exactly what will happen.
So you think AJ? You then think AJ will fare a lot better than Tyson Fury in that fight?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
For whatever reason it was with that fight, whether it was Tyson Fury wasn't up for it or whatever it was, I think that was more about Tyson Fury, who he is, how he fights, how he motivates himself, than about Varlin's whatever it's called, performance. But I think it does mean that it makes it an exciting build-up, and it makes it raises that element of doubt in your mind about how AJ will perform. But I think AJ gets him out of there 4 to 5 rounds.
Really?
And one of his old school knockouts, which gives him that bounce to take him into the Usyk fight.
Yeah.
If that, like you're saying, if that ever has the opportunity to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think similar to kind of Joe Joyce, again, I'm kind of picturing a fight where it stylistically it does favor AJ, and I think he probably does steamroll him maybe in, I'd say a bit later, maybe 6 or 7, but I probably agree with you there with the knockout.
I think it's great because I think we'll get a glimpse of the old AJ. Well, I mean, I'm talking as if it is happening, but it gives that chance to get a glimpse of the old AJ for everyone to get excited again. Big, powerful guy, blasting people out. People that look like they've got a bit of pedigree, a bit of experience with people like Tyson Fury. It's all great stuff. I don't think it then means that he's going to perform any better with Usyk. I don't think it says anything about the Usyk fight, but I think it gives us the chance to get even more excited than we would have been otherwise if he was going straight back into the rematch.
And I think we had a glimpse of that already with when he fought Pulev, because we had just seen 2 Andy Ruiz fights. The first one, him obviously getting beaten up, and then the second one actually being quite a boring, quite a tactical fight from AJ, keeping it rangy or whatever. And, there was a lot of hype lost around AJ, but then they put him smartly with Pulev, who was stylistically perfect for him, and he laid him out, and then suddenly the stocks rise for AJ again. So maybe we'll see a similar thing here. I think another fighter who you're probably going to laugh when I say his name, who I think actually might be the most likely to happen. Well, not the most likely, but I think I could see happening, is Luis Ortiz.
Sure.
He just beaten Charles Martin. What is he, 65 years old, something like that.
He's old enough to be Anthony Joshua's dad.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to make a fight like that where he's coming off a win.
Big payday for Ortiz.
Big payday for Ortiz. AJ could come in, knock him out in 2 rounds. It depends. I don't know what they're looking for in this interim fight. If they're looking to actually prep AJ for Usyk, because if they are, maybe you're looking then at Joseph Parker, because stylistically there's similarities there. What's the advantage of fighting an Otto Wallen when you're going to go in with Usyk next? If you're looking to actually,
if I'm in AJ's team, I'd get the BTEC Fury. I'd get Huey in there with him. Warm him up.
I reckon Huey Fury beats him, mate. I think he does him, jabs his head off.
I like that though. Why haven't we brought it up earlier? Huey Fury.
Yeah, no, he's a name.
Laughing. I feel that if you wanted someone who was in any way comparable to the Usyk fight, I'm not saying that he is, but in that ballpark, it isn't
awkward
Parker,
fighter,
is it? Fury.
Fighter, yeah.
Just a slickster, isn't it? Someone who's gonna move and give you something to think about. Not gonna be a stationary target.
And he ain't gonna turn that fight down, is he? That's gonna be an easy fight to make, surely.
Yeah, I think I don't know who he's with now, Huey Fury, because he was with Eddie Hearn. Obviously, he's now been the split with Sky Sports.
Yeah,
and Boxer are now with Sky Sports, so it's a bit more complicated. So
of all of the fights we talked about, I don't know. I've never really enjoyed a Huey Fury fight, but that feels like the most exciting.
It'd be funny with Tyson in the build-up.
I know, that's what I was thinking. The build-up with.
Yeah, well, let's go around. I want to hear. So Johan said the one he'd be most excited for as a fan would be Huey Fury. Joe, what about you? What, out of the names we've listed, or maybe if you've got another one yourself, you mentioned Chisora.
Yeah, well, I think David Haye would also take the fight if they gave him enough money. That would be fun to watch. For me, AJ beats all of them so convincingly. I'd like to see a big knockout, so I'd go Ortiz. I mean, he's got a fucking sign with the Bible. Ortiz, he's that old. I'll get him in with him there.
I worry though, but Joe, like, don't you feel that like he gets seriously hurt? Like he's just not.
Yeah, that's why Joe watches boxing.
Yeah,
sadistic, mate.
I think Ortiz's soul left his body a long time ago. I think when Wilder, it was. He's just been a shell of a man since then.
Since that point, yeah.
I don't think he can feel pain after that. But what about you, Jim?
I think my dream fight is obviously Wilder, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, so that would be number one. In terms of a realistic next fight, I'd probably go with none of them particularly excite me. But probably Varlin. I think there's just adds a bit of spice.
There's a storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bit of a script you can make. I'd probably say Joe Joyce, to be fair. I think just because there's some question marks, and there's some question marks where, there's an argument to be made that Joyce, there's a game plan Joyce can follow to beat AJ.
Yeah,
there's a world you could see it happening.
Definitely. Yeah, he's the toughest fight for AJ out of those.
Yeah, names. I'd say so. But it just depends. I think that's what we're going to find out is what are they looking for this fight. I think
they ain't looking for a tough fight though, are they? Yeah, tough in the Joe Joyce sense, tough. Tough in like a slicker fighter. I think that has benefit. But to just go in with someone who is that durable and that tough, I don't see the benefit. I don't see the benefit in preparation.
He needs to be fresh
for another fight. Yeah, because I ain't gonna keep him fresh. That's gonna take.
Exactly. It's a big win for AJ though. The Joyce. It'd be
a big win. Yeah,
I think it's a big. I think it's a big fight. I think Warren was saying he thinks he could do Wembley, and before I would laugh at that, but now that I've seen Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte do Wembley, I wouldn't be surprised if Joyce AJ could do it as well. I really wouldn't. Yeah. With two British heavyweights, AJ's got the draw he has. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Mm-hmm.
But, we'll see what happens. I think there's a few potential fights, but none of them really grip us. I think the ones we're really waiting for is Wilder and Fury. But just out of that, on that note, what would you guys rather see if you could make that big fight now? Would you rather see Wilder fight AJ, or would it definitely be Tyson Fury?
Tyson Fury AJ?
Yeah.
Probably
Wilder AJ.
I don't know. I don't think Wilder's heart's in the game anymore.
Really?
Just the messages coming out of his camp and from him since he lost to Fury. I don't know. I think that sort of aura of invincibility and that sort of persona he had has been completely shattered in his own mind. So I don't think he's going to be the force he once was. If you are, there's two ways you can react to a defeat like that. You can dust yourself off, a bit like AJ's done, get straight back on it like you should, or you just sort of wallow in self-pity, which I think is pretty much what Wilder's done. So my preference would be the Fury AJ rather than the AJ Wilder.
Fair.
Right. That makes sense.
Any thoughts on that?
AJ Fury all day.
Yeah. I think in terms of the actual fight itself, I think AJ Wilder's a better fight, but I just couldn't pick. I couldn't pick that over seeing the two British heavyweights go at it. But I think in terms of, that would be one of the most exciting fights in maybe even boxing history is to see.
That's got to be the most anticipated British fight ever.
AJ Fury?
AJ Fury, yeah.
What would be better is Whyte beats Fury, right? AJ beats Usyk, and then it's the rematch for the unified heavyweight title.
Oh, wait. You're talking about biggest fight in British boxing history. What are you talking about? What about Bruno Lewis, mate?
Mate, AJ v White for the 5 unified titles. That is... Don't get better than that, mate. After the boot and the last one.
Yeah.
That last fight was a blockbuster. If it's half as good as that, it'd be the greatest.
It's half as good as that. Yeah.
No, I agree.
Sorry. I'm there. I'm in the crowd.
Yeah. No, that does get me excited for White making return. But this isn't a video about White. This was about AJ. But we
always come back
we
White.
just niggle him in at every episode. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. Few options for AJ there. We'll see who he goes with. I think we'll find out fairly soon. I think Eddie Hearn won't want to waste time, and I think he'll start putting pressure on the governing bodies to vacate these belts while Usyk's away, and I think he'll make sure he gets a title shot for AJ fairly soon. But I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys very much for listening. Please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And would you guys all like to say goodbye?
Yeah, keep fighting.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening, guys, and good night.